but the president ordered the strike. Is that correct?
Which strike are you referring to?
The strike on Iran, the war that we're in.
Oh, of course. I mean, he's the commander-in-chief. He's made the calls.
Congressman Eugene Vindman did not walk into this hearing with a speech. He walked in with a sequence: the price of Brent crude, the width of the Strait of Hormuz, the navigable channel, the number of barrels that moved through it every day before the war. These were not random questions. They were the foundation of a record, because Pete Hegseth had told Congress that the president understood the risks before striking Iran. Vindman's question was what those risks now looked like in real life: higher oil, disrupted shipping, a wider war, and American soldiers coming home through Dover. Then, Vindman asked the question every administration tries to avoid: who made the call?
Do you know what the price of oil is today?
I don't know where it's gone as this time of this hearing, but roughly $100 a barrel.
It's actually closer to 120, 117.
Well, it depends on the index you're looking at.
I'm looking at Brent. Do you know what the price was the day before of Brent, the day before we went to war?
It was certainly lower. You understand you're taking some economic risk. But I would note,
a lot lower.
The energy dominance this president has unleashed has put us in an incredible position.
Thank you. So it's $72, and so now we have a 62% increase. By the way, the department obviously will be paying those extra fuel costs. That's going to be not insignificant, but so will the American people. Now, at its narrowest point, how wide is the Strait of Hormuz?
I think it's about 12 miles, but I'd have to check.
It's 24 miles, but 12 miles is actually the relevant number because that's the navigable channel.
That's the international water navigable channel point.
And do you know how many barrels of oil transited the Strait of Hormuz each day before the war started?
I don't know the exact number, but you're looking at over 100 oil tankers usually transited a day, or 120 a day would transport the strait.
Yeah, and so 20 million barrels a day, and right now they're at an 81% reduction. So it sounds like you've done your homework. You're tracking pretty well what the strategic situation is. So a couple of questions. Were you aware that if we struck Iran, that they would most likely close the Strait of Hormuz?
Of course, our department was prepared and planning for every possible contingency, being front and center as something they may do in a desperate state to attempt to,
which is what they've done,
some kind of control.
And I appreciate that. And earlier you told Mr. Moulton that this department has looked at all aspects of the risk, and that the president got every possible perspective. And then recently you just said that the president did understand the risks and had the courage to undertake the endeavor nonetheless. And that's leadership, or words to that effect, pretty close. And so I just want to kind of give you the state of play right now. It's been 2 months of war. We have hopes for a resolution, but the war continues, really. Iran has closed the strait, and we've now gone in and blockaded their ports. 1/5 of the world's oil is unable to transit the strait, and the American people and the department are paying significantly more. And you also said that this is what the American people actually voted for. But actually, the American people voted for a promise not to get into Middle Eastern wars. And they voted for lower prices. And this is the exact opposite of what they got. So let me ask you this. The president ordered the strike. Is that correct?
The president's been saying for over 30 years that Iran can never have a nuclear weapon. So he's been very clear as a position. When the American people voted for President Trump overwhelmingly, they voted for that position. I got that.
But the president ordered the strike. Is that correct?
Which strike are you referring to?
The strike on Iran, the war that we're in.
Oh, of course. I mean, he's the commander-in-chief.
So
he's made the calls.
It sounds like you're blaming Daddy for the mess we're in, and I don't think he's going to be particularly happy with you.
I see what you're trying to do. There's no daylight in this administration on this campaign, and I'm happy to stand shoulder to shoulder with this administration.
Reclaiming my time. So let's shift gears. Last time we were here, I asked you if you'd apologize to the mother of an F-18 pilot whose son you endangered for sharing classified information on a signal chat. You refused. On March 1st, 6 Army soldiers, including a constituent of mine, were killed by an Iranian drone strike. Do you take any responsibility for those deaths?
I was there at Dover when they came back. Of course, I take responsibility for every aspect of this mission.
Well, I appreciate that, because you also complained about the fact that tragic things happen the news makes it front page news. The press only wants to make the president look bad. Is it about the soldiers or is it about the president looking bad?
It's not just the president who wants, or the media that wants to make him look bad. It's you.
It's actually about the soldiers, and it's frankly reprehensible that you would make that statement. And so, Truman had a sign on his desk that said the buck stops here. And this
the gentleman's time has expired. The chair now recognizes Mr.
The first thing Vindman does is remove the excuse of surprise. Hegseth says the administration understood the risk. Vindman shows what that risk became. That is why the questioning begins with oil, not ideology, not cable news language. Oil, Brent crude, a price before the war, a price after the war. A 62% increase, according to Vindman's numbers in the hearing. Then the Strait of Hormuz, 24 miles at its narrowest point, 12 miles of navigable channel, 20 million barrels a day before the conflict, according to Vindman, an 81% reduction after the war began. That is the record he is building. Piece by piece, Vindman turns a foreign policy decision into a domestic consequence. A strike overseas becomes fuel costs at home. A military escalation becomes a household budget problem. A promise of lower prices becomes higher prices. A promise to avoid another Middle Eastern war becomes 2 months of war. Then he moves to responsibility. Hegseth had already said the president received the risks. He said the president understood them. He said the president acted anyway. So Vindman asks the only question left in the timeline. Did the president order the strike? At first, Hegseth gives context, Trump's position on Iran, the nuclear issue, the mandate he says voters gave him, but that does not answer the question. So Vindman asks again. And Hegseth finally says it. Trump is the commander-in-chief. He made the calls. That answer does not solve the problem. It creates the permanent record, because if the risks were known, then the consequences were not an accident. And if the president made the calls, then the administration cannot blame the press, the critics, or the opposition for asking who is accountable. The second half of the clip makes that even sharper. Vindman moves from barrels to bodies. He cites 6 army soldiers killed by an Iranian drone strike, including one of his constituents. Hegseth says he takes responsibility. But when Vindman asks whether the issue is the soldiers or the president looking bad, Hegseth turns the answer back toward politics. The media wants to make Trump look bad. And, he says, so does Vindman. That is where the contradiction becomes moral. The question was about responsibility. The answer became loyalty. In a democracy, sworn testimony is supposed to clarify power. It is supposed to show who knew what, when they knew it, what they ordered, and who pays the price. This hearing did not end the war. It did not lower oil. It did not bring back the soldiers. But it placed the chain of responsibility on the record. And once it is on the record, it does not disappear. The buck does not stop with a headline. It stops with the people who made the call.